Welcome back to Benny's Custom Works, proudly supported by Haltech and Sparesbox. Don't forget Benny 5 on checkout. This week, we are continuing our Mark II project. We do have a lot of plumbing to attack today. I've now got a vacuum log which we can run and plumb to our ITBs. We've got some fuel system stuff. We've got some catch can stuff to look at. And I'm sure I've forgotten something. Oh, clutch line. So we've got all sorts of different plumbing systems. So we're going to be putting all that together and hopefully getting a lot of those systems, well, they're not going to be functioning today, getting them in place so that we can move forward with the project. We do have all our Haltech gear on order as well. So hopefully in the next few episodes, we'll have Dave down here helping us wire it all up because Dave's a wizard and I am a potato. So let's get on into it. So this is our vacuum log. We've got 6 inputs here directly from each throttle body. I've also got a -6 fitting on this end. And currently I have a -8 ORB in the end of the rail. We are going to be stepping that back to another -3. Basically, this is going to go to the brake booster, and this is actually going to go to our ECU for our map sensor. We're not going to be using a vacuum reference fuel reg in this installation. It's NA, so it really doesn't matter a whole lot. And the Haltech has fuel modeling, which will actually compensate injector duty cycles and that sort of stuff based on vacuum and all that sort of deal, which this really doesn't have a whole lot of vacuum anyway. So depending on how Scotty wants to tune it, map sensor may only be a secondary input, not our primary load-based sensor. So we may be tuning off of TPS rather than vacuum, because I don't think it's going to have a whole lot of vacuum. A, it's going to have ITBs, and B, we've got decent cams in it. So maybe a lack of vac. Massive thank you to Paulie for actually putting this together for me. It is just a generic fuel rail extrusion, and he's machined all the threads into it and made it all really nice. Even put a few little mounting bracket holes there for us, which are already threaded, and conveniently he's even put the measurement on it for me. So massive thanks to Paulie again. And we're going to start plumbing this thing up now. We do need to work out where to mount it first, and then we can move forward. So the only thing I need to do now is work out where to mount this thing.
In the engine bay.
Thanks, John. I'm very helpful today. I'm thinking, as bad as it is, I might actually just drill those threads out and use one of, because there's heaps and heaps of threaded inserts in the chassis rail already. So I wonder, do I just drill one of these holes out to 6mm? That's probably where it's going to live there, I reckon. The charcoal canister's getting relocated, so that's not a concern. Given that the thing's NA, I think a lot of things are going to end up in this void here.
Yeah. So
we don't have an intercooler or all these other bits and pieces are going to have to go there. We are most likely going to add a power steering cooler, but even that I'm on the fence with, because it's not going to drive hard, and it's something that I can add later easily if I need to. So I'm not too fussed about that.
What's the charcoal canister responsible for again?
All the vapors from the tank. The fuel vapor will go into that.
Is that thing that if you didn't have it, the fuel pressure or vapors in the tank would build up and, I don't know, just
split the tank? Or you'd have to remove the charcoal canister and block the line.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's possible that you can cause dramas by blocking that tank fitting just from undoing that charcoal canister. You can smell the fuel vapor straight away. I really don't want to go to the bolt shop for one bolt.
Looks like you got a whole bolt shop in this drawer.
I know, but it's still not the right ones.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how many bolts you keep, there's still always going to be one you need.
So true.
Feels like about 13 degrees. Summer weather, bro.
You're dead wrong. It's 14 degrees.
Oh, sorry, I said about.
Yeah, it's definitely not t-shirt and shorts weather, but that's fine.
What do you mean? 20, so I need the bolt 30mm.
That looks quite neat there.
I think that can have a bit of a adjustment. So it'll go somewhere like that.
Do you want to comment on what kind of glue this is? Or what?
It's just a thread sealer. The reason that you use AN spanners is because the aluminium on the fitting and on the tool is the same hardness. So you're not using like a normal traditional steel spanner and then damaging the fitting finish. Like it doesn't damage the anodizing on the fitting.
Yeah.
Unless you go to town and then destroy it. The other thing to keep in mind is that these, you've got to make sure that you keep cleaning them, because if you do get foreign material in there, that's going to cause issues as well. Annoyingly, I can't actually buy a -8 ORB to -3 fitting directly through Raceworks. So I've got to go -8 ORB to 1/8 NPT and then 1/8 NPT to -3. Where it's going, it also doesn't matter too much because we don't have a height restriction, like as far as where the fitting's got to go.
Yeah.
So it's not that big of a drama for this time around, but I get it too. The fitting manufacturer's got to also think about how many of these fittings we're going to sell, and is it worth
of course.
storing and stockpiling all these random fittings for very specific type setups. So I get it. It's not a direction at them. Like, how many different fittings do you make? So that's our finished log. These are our fittings that are going to go directly into the throttle body inlet manifold. It comes with like the plastic push-in air fitting type connectors. I don't have any of that system, so I've gone back just to -3 AN. How's your sandwich?
Hope I don't regret this. Eating my lunch for recess.
Rookie move. So there are actually different types of AN fittings. These particular ones are stainless steel, so we are going to be using normal spanners for this. It is a 1/2 inch and a 7/16 on this -3. So wish me luck.
Good luck. Did you call it recess or little lunch?
Recess.
Yeah.
This meeting is adjourned. You can have a 5-minute recess.
Yeah, is that where the term comes from, you reckon?
I don't know. Probably not. It's amazingly hard to hold that hose and try and tighten this at the same time. It looks very unco. It's much easier to just do it this way. Tight. So that's our first one. This will eat like 10 metres of hose, easy.
So do you have to do 6 of those
Yeah.
particular fittings? So that is what's going to be delivering the fuel to... damn it. Now I'm confused again.
This is purely vacuum.
Okay.
So this is vacuum reference to balance, A, to balance the throttles, but B, so that the map sensor gets a signal from every cylinder, and in theory, hopefully it'll balance the map sensor so that you're not getting so much pulsing. Will it work? So this is the fuel rail at the top.
Okay.
That's the fuel.
I just find the whole concept of vacuum line confusing. But you did explain well, like what it's responsible for.
Thanks.
So hopefully by the end of this episode, or the second time watching it through, I'll be like, oh yeah, cool.
I get it now.
So it helps with keeping the pressure or whatever consistent.
Kind of.
Okay. Slowly, we'll get there. Slowly. Good band. Check them out. Have you heard of them?
No.
Okay.
You on the payroll?
I was about to
Is this
ask
why
you.
you're working weekends?
Oh, maybe we should go for some music sponsors. But imagine if people contact us that we don't believe in, like some hardstyle people. Actually, you listen to hardstyle now.
People we don't believe in. Can wash your mouth out. I listen to anything, bro. I've gone down the rabbit hole of podcasts lately.
Oh, good.
I'm not a podcast
Welcome.
person.
What have you been podcasting?
Started with Tommy's podcast about golf.
Oh,
that was the tip of the arrow.
Yeah, the
And
gateway.
Then, yeah, now next minute, because I'm a tragic, immature boy, I was very partial to the In-Betweeners.
Oh, yeah, I remember them.
And James Buckley, him and his missus have a podcast. They just talk shit, but it's pretty funny. So that's where I'm at.
You on their payroll?
No, I'm not. Wish I was. 10 hours later building these lines.
It's probably the
I
longest.
did say to you this would be done by lunchtime. I didn't actually mean lunchtime today. I meant lunchtime tomorrow.
My bad for assuming.
I don't hate the silver ends.
As in looks? Or
Yeah.
all round material, you believe in
just
the
looks.
material and yeah, cool.
Stainless steel lines are normally for turbo or brake line, like
Yep.
oil feed or brake line, but it'll be fine. Like, it's over engineering for what we need it. So
Yeah, I see. So the stainless steel, obviously different to the AN. AN, I think you said was...
they're still AN. They're just aluminium versus
yep.
stainless steel.
Yep.
Because AN is the system. People will wonder why I'm running it so high and flat. It's basically to keep this breather line away from the throttle linkages. Because if it gets stuck in the throttle linkage, that's a bad time. You'll be pizzaing when you should be French frying. It's just no good way to run this line when you're trying to plumb a car, hey?
Yeah. Reminds me of bonsai wiring a bit.
The old bonsai chats.
Speaking of, what if I told you there was a way to make this car more Japanese?
Is it put a bonsai garden in the boot?
Oh, you could do that, but that doesn't seem that practical.
Okay, what are you going to tell me then?
Or you could install this in the front seat, just riding shotgun the whole time.
What the hell, bro?
So technique, you're actually going to put the hose onto the fitting that you've already installed.
Yeah, that'll just give me a check length before I terminate it permanently. I mean, it just saves tons of time.
Yeah.
Because you'd normally mark it,
Yeah.
then take it out.
And then tape it to cut it with an angle grinder.
Yeah, it's to stop it all fraying.
Yeah. Definitely worth getting those snips.
The cable ties are just short term. I'll get some sort of hose spreaders later, but that'll at least keep it neat. So this is our map sensor line, because I'm actually going to run a bulkhead fitting in the firewall, and I can't use that anymore because it's aluminium now. I don't know exactly where this is going to go yet.
In terms of what
Through
you
the
just
firewall.
screwed in? Oh, okay, yeah.
Because this has actually got to go through the firewall, so I'm going to use a little -3 bulkhead, and then I've actually got a nipple that we can put just a piece of silicone hose on to go up to the map sensor. But I don't yet know where that's going to go through the firewall, so I'm just going to cut that a little bit longer, and then that hose has just got to be terminated. Yeah, there will be a little bit of wastage, but I'd rather waste this much hose than the whole length because we've cut it too short. So that's all of our vacuum log done. The only other thing we do need to consider is how to plumb in our brake booster. I'm pretty sure at this point I'm going to delete this. I want to see if I can get a one-way valve that fits the booster that's already got a -6AN thread on it. I know they exist, but the problem is most of the PBR style boosters, which is in a lot of Australian cars, Commodores, Falcons, Tiranas, all those kind of older cars, the O-ring diameter is incorrect for our booster. So yeah, I guess we've just got to suss that out if there's a way to fix that. So fingers crossed. I think the next thing we'll look at is fuel lines, both supply and return. So I've got a sneaky little trick today.
Where are those lines going to?
So this is our clutch line. Oh, yep. So that'll go there. I'll make some sort of attachment to mount it a bit nicer. But it's basically going to sit there. Just sit there, and I'll actually drill that off. That'll go up there. So I've got to make a clutch line still, but we are going to now tackle fuel system. Well, it started anyway. I don't have a fuel pressure regulator yet. So getting rid of this plastic tray, because to be honest, we don't really need it. It's not going to help us. This ground's going because we don't need that. We're going to do all new bigger grounds. We'll do like probably 4 gauge grounds.
What do you think this gauge wire is?
Like 12, probably something around that.
Is that covered to protect it from just debris on the road? Like all those lines?
Probably, yeah. It's hard to say exactly.
Wow, how come that part's so rusty?
Just reasons, who knows?
Do you reckon water just sat there for some reason or other?
No, I doubt it. I'd say it's probably more likely the coating on that wasn't as good as other parts of the car or something more like that.
Okay.
So we're actually going to get rid of this whole rubber line today because we don't need it, as it turns out.
What was that for again?
This is the stock rubber fuel line.
Gotcha.
But
yep, cool.
Dan Beekmans has given us more pro tips.
Oh, that's good. So you're getting rid of that little rusty sort of patch thing
Yeah,
anyway.
it's gone anyway.
Lovely.
So you can be calm
Yeah, that's a happy coincidence.
and stop wigging out about it. Just relax, mate.
Is there a point that you'd wig out about that?
No.
Cool. That'll just hold forever.
In your head.
Physically on the car, it would stay intact forever.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
In
this country, 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
We just don't have corrosion, like salt corrosion, like other countries.
Thank goodness.
Oh, yeah. Smash that finger. Man, this is a punish.
Yeah, what's that, an 1/8 turn at a time?
Yeah, it's just, the thread's just very tight. For some reason, all the Toyotas seem to be like that. I don't know if they put some sort of sealant or something on the thread, maybe. But the long and the short of it is we don't need that anymore.
Cool.
And the reason we don't need that anymore is because we're going to use a Ford Falcon fuel filter, which is a Z373, and according to Dan, the Cressida Wizard, it's the same thread directly in the back of the filter. Look at that.
Whoa, magic.
Magic. I'm just going to put a -6 fitting. So this is a 14 by 1.5 metric to -6 male. And it basically means that we can convert this directly to -6 now without having to buy an expensive fuel filter, because these things are cheap at any local parts store. You can throw them in the bin and get another one.
Beautiful.
Cheap like me.
All I'm hearing is Falcons are superior.
Yeah, that too. You still turboing yours?
My Falcon?
Yeah.
I would like to.
Yeah, just budget based.
Yeah. Did you say we'd have to do different head studs on my engine or anything
Yeah,
like that?
probably.
Yeah, so
Head studs, valve springs, oil pump gear.
oh shit,
Yeah.
that's a lot. So that's it. That's engine out.
Yeah.
Far out. We'll see how yours goes.
Yeah, okay.
I would love to turbo my Falcon and do some dry drifting,
Yeah.
but also then it's budget again because tyres,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of mechanical stress dry drifting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not ruling it out yet, but yeah, we'll see.
I think I'm actually going to cut the return line about here, because I really want to put the flex sensor in here somewhere. So I'm going to measure that line and see what the diameter is.
This may be another can of worms, but are they calipers or verniers?
These are digital calipers. Vernier calipers have almost looks like a sliding ruler. So I got publicly bashed for calling them vernier calipers when they're not. They're digital calipers.
Right, yeah.
So please don't start that again. The problem with all of these, the whole AN standard is imperial. So this is just a rando fitting that I've grabbed. But this is a backing nut and a tube sleeve for flaring tube. But because it's designed for 5/16 tube, it's just under 8mm. So I'm actually going to drill the tube out, or the backing sleeve out, to 21/64, which is 8.2 something millimeters, which is about exactly what the OD of our tube is. So I want to use that so that we can basically cut the return line and flare it, and it means that we can then put the flex fuel sensor, mount that directly into it rather than having to run lines and all sorts of adapters and stuff.
Yeah, right. I guess that answers my next question is, how else would you be able to do it without all this custom stuff?
Rubber lines. The problem is though, most Japanese cars are 8mm fuel line, and all the flex fuel sensors I know of are 3/8 or 10mm spigot. So you end up having bodgy hoses and stretching stuff, and it's never really a great result. So run the drill all the way through that, because this is scrap anyway. But I'll keep,
Hey!
that's what I was looking for. So we'll keep that, or we'll keep that other fitting, so that if we've got to do this again in the future, we're sorted.
So that thing you found was the bulkhead that was going to go onto the
That's the oil
firewall.
pressure switches and stuff I was looking for.
You're about to have a really clean floor and a clean rag.
I don't actually know why the return line has so much fuel in it.
Oh man, did you just get yourself with that?
Yeah, just heaps. Should be right, I'll flare that and then we can plug it.
Yeah, that's smart.
It's just literally wasting fuel.
Yeah, good Japanese fuel too.
I know. Mantan Hayok.
Probably sell that for what, $30 a litre here.
Yeah, I reckon.
What's that tool doing currently?
Flaring the pipe, hopefully. There we go.
Yeah, nice. That's cool. So we've got the different sizes. So how do you know what size you had to use?
What size the tube is.
Oh, yeah, cool. So the tube only fits in that one
Yeah.
slot. Yeah, cool. Yeah, nice. Look at that.
So that'll now plug that line, and then that means no more leaking. So what we're going to do later on is put that flex fuel sensor in there, which hopefully that'll come in the next week or so.
So flex fuel sensor works by sensing what type of fuel it is, letting the ECU know, and then the ECU loads up the tune relevant to that fuel.
Yeah, scales, injectors and
Well,
ignition timing and different things like that is what changes.
smart.
On an NA car, obviously there's no boost or anything to change, but say the Cresta for instance, the boost map drastically changes between 98 and E85. I actually want to see, because we've never really done it, what the difference is in 98 and E85 in a car. Like, does it actually make a difference? Is it worth attempting it or thinking about it?
I think I've asked you this before, but are there any others that have done RTB 2J?
There's actually a guy in, I think, WA that's got a Mark II, even like this, that he's done ITBs and 2J. And I think it's still in the build as well.
Oh, wow.
I think his is running, like kind of mid-build type of deal.
Yeah. And everyone's probably wondering, is that what inspired this?
No, because I already had the 2J and I'd already started to go on that NA path once we were talking about changing the crown and making it not a 1,000 horsepower drag car, because I came to the realization that I don't need two.
As cool as that would have been.
Yeah, I just hated that car so much. So that's our fuel filter mounted, P-clipped it up nicely. And I've actually just got a plug on this one and a cap on this one so that we can not have fuel leaks. We are going to plumb this into the engine today though, so I'll take that off in a minute when we start playing around with that line, but just got to work out where it's all going to go yet. Yeah, so I'm just going to start looking at the fuel line now. It's just -6, obviously it's not going to make a lot of power, so we could get away with the 5/16 line. So there's no real dramas there. I think it's 5/16 front and back anyway, so technically it's -5, but that's something that was made up by automotive AN stuff. It's not a true AN standard. But I'm just going to kind of work out, as usual, the combination of angles of fittings. I've got a 90 degree on the rail, which is really the only option here anyway, just based on clearance on the firewall. The filter there kind of looks at a 45, but we also need to kind of go across and up. So a 60 is probably actually the fitting I need, but I don't have one. So I don't know if I'll kind of sit on that, or I could probably actually just use a 90 and fire it across. We'll get another 90 and have a look at that. If I use a 90, when you rotate it in two planes, it'll flatten the bend out a little bit. Nope. I think that'll be fine, because I can loop it back and put it in this void a little bit. So I reckon that's going to be fine. So now the fun part, making some more hose. It's not the prettiest, but just have to run the return line directly above the rail.
Yep.
To wherever the reg ends up going, unless we go down and actually put the reg under the manifold. That's an option. I'd like to try and hide as much stuff as possible. Like, I know this is going to look very busy anyway with all this sort of stuff, and we do have aircon stuff to go back in here, so it's not the end of the world. This is our charcoal, or basically our tank purge. That's got to go back to the charcoal canister at a later date. We'll relocate that, most likely rebend that line and get this out of the way. Try and run the rubber line pretty low on the rail just to make it disappear a bit. Might even be able to put the charcoal canister in the guard here. Relocating so much stuff like the washer bottle, the charcoal canister, the radiator overflow, the catch can, which is actually going to go up here. Batteries going over that side. Fuse box is actually going to go under the headlight now. Speaking of James, apparently it's doable with pretty minimal work as far as relocating some stuff. The wiring harness itself for the front of the car, I may even move onto the radiator support side just to hide it, just make it a little bit neater, because then effectively all of the wiring is going to move inside other voids, like whether it be the guard liners or in the front of the rad support. That side is particularly ugly, and it's actually in the way of putting the battery back in that side of the car, so we need to move that junction of connectors anyway. So if we can move that into the inner guard and sort of shift some stuff around, that might make our packaging a little bit easier, and it'll definitely make the bay a lot cleaner as well. The problem is too, like the battery tray doesn't fit because it hits this.
Oh yes, of course.
It hits that, and then this connector hits the battery. So because the issue is this wiring configuration was never designed to have the battery in this side, even though the car was designed to have the battery over there.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so shifting things around, like this is originally up here, so it's going to get moved down there and all sorts of fun. It'll definitely tidy it right up. It's not going to be like a full show quality bay, but I want it to be super neat for what it is.
Yeah.
Like clean, all the brake lines be clean, all the aircon lines be clean, everything just be super neat and tidy where possible. I still want it to be functional, I still want aircon, I still want power steering. So we're not deleting it to the point where stuff isn't usable. But yeah, we've got to find the happy medium that makes it still really tidy. I'd rather have a little bit extra hose to throw away. Call it 350. Something to keep in mind when you are making all of your AN lines, especially if you are cutting them with an angle grinder or any other friction cutting method, make sure you clean out all of your lines, because whatever you leave in these lines is going to end up in whatever system you're plumbing, in this case the fuel system, and this is actually after the fuel filter, so any of the debris that we cut and leave in this line could end up in the injectors or the regulator, or clog up the fuel pump even on the way back around again. So you want to flush your lines with either brake cleaner or isopropyl alcohol. Definitely keep that in mind when you are making your AN lines. So that's our fuel line length confirmed. So it's just basically going to run up neatly towards the bell housing. It's worth keeping in mind too when you make AN lines that you don't want it to go point to point directly, and there's strain, especially when you're going from a hard mounted item to the chassis to the engine. The engine is going to have some movement. Even though we do have tough mounts in this, there is still some movement, so you always want some give in the fuel lines. We've also done the same thing for the vac lines we've run to the ITBs. And anything else that's going between the engine and the chassis, you really want to make sure that there's enough give and the line can move freely, and it's also not going to chafe on anything and rub through, whether it be rub through the line or rub through something else. I have actually seen AN line, the stainless braid, the old school sort of stuff, rub through electrical cables before, so make sure you keep that in mind when you are laying out your electrical system as well as your fuel system and any other system that uses AN, especially if it's braided line, because there is a chance that that's going to rub through. The old stainless stuff is almost like a file, especially on aluminium or rubber coating on wiring harnesses, so yeah, keep that in mind.
Looks snazzy.
Too jazzy.
Ah,
Too
so
jazzy.
good.
Too jazzy. You even know what I'm talking about?
It's not just a pun.
Oh no, you don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't then.
It's off the in-betweeners. It's when they're getting suits for their prom and they go to the gentleman who sells all the suits, and they're all like hectic 70s style, like real frilly, like just nut suits, and it's like too jazzy. That's just the line. Thought you were cool. So I'm hoping, time permitting, we actually get this in and running and tuned, then strip the car for paint. That's my current game plan. But it's entirely going to depend on timelines and
yeah,
all that kind of deal.
That's determination though, to get it all in and running just to pull it out again.
Well, I want to know that it's right, you know. Like
Yeah.
the Cresta, we did the same. That bay got painted in that way after the car was finished. The only thing we've got to do is a return line, a reg, and a flex sensor, which we don't have any of that yet. Clutch line we can do. I am going to convert the clutch master cylinder directly to AN also, so I've got a metric to AN fitting. It actually has a reverse flare in the back of it to butt up inside the master cylinder as well, so not going to seal or not going to leak, so should be an easy fit. whack that in there. All we got to do is basically make a hose. It's probably about 1 meter long, give or take, to go from here down to our quick connect, which we've already got on our slave cylinder. The lines on the slave cylinder are the standard extreme clutch lines, so we're just going to stick with those because they're already a dash 4 fitting, so we can just tie it all together using our quick connector. I just want to get that down there so it's in roughly the right spot. There we go, that'll do it.
You're protecting it because it's going to go near your manifold?
Yeah, this will be on the, like on the, near the, or near, on the firewall near the brake, near the exhaust.
Yeah.
Not directly near it, but if there's a way to help it not radiate heat, I'll definitely get on board.
Yeah, of course.
We'll put a sort of a P-clip, a P-clip or a bracket there at some point, because you don't want to P-clip this side because that's where you're disconnecting.
Yep.
I might even just take that and then move the whole thing across just to get a bit more clearance, because that doesn't need to be there. I think that's actually the stock clutch hardline bracket. Time for catch cams.
Cool. Do you have an idea of where you actually want to mount the catch can?
Here.
Oh, nice. Is that you? Did you already do the mounting for it?
No, this is the washer bottle bracket.
Ah, rightio. Do you know that it's going to fit there, or you still yet to do the measurements?
I'm just hoping, because I'm using the same catch can that's in the Cresta.
Yep.
And it's in that spot, so.
So this system, are you going to have that permanently blocked off at the bottom, and then to empty it, you're going to take
pull it
the
out
whole
and
thing
clean
out?
it, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Because I know on the IS you had it in a spot where you could, drain.
Yeah, on a dedicated track car, you've normally got a lot more room in the bay to put those sort of things in.
Plus, I think you need to drain the IS's one much more regularly than I anticipate you'll need to drain this one.
Yeah, for sure. I'll have to nutsert the tower. If I bring that around, I can put it there with a spacer. So I'll have to put a spacer in here. It's also going to impede the wiring harness a bit, unless I move it all the way back.
Oh, to fill the void closest to you.
Yeah. Biggest problem is going to actually be drilling the hole to put the nutsert in on the back side.
Just because of access?
Yeah, well, I'll probably be able to get a 90-degree drill in there. Might mean cutting a drill bit down, but...
Worth for the sake of a clean-looking engine bay.
Yeah. Drill bits are consumables, bro. I suppose the other problem is I've got no clear indication of bonnet clearance.
Ah, yes. Do we want to go get the bonnet and just rest it on there momentarily just to see, or?
I reckon I can probably eyeball it, because the other thing is I can probably modify the catch can to drop it down a little bit lower. Still burnout.
How do you make sure that that's cooked the right way?
Well, because it's got a straight on one end, it doesn't matter.
Ah, of course.
So it can swivel at that fitting. But yeah, there is a bit of, like when I did that fuel line before, there was a bit of mucking around in making sure it's clocked correctly. I reckon I'll get a couple of supports and just tie that together, just so it's in the same line, because it's a little bit spread. The biggest issue is because the catch can obviously has horizontal spread, whereas the rock cover, both of these are in line, the hoses are never going to sit particularly neatly. Even if I just get one tether there to just tie those two, I might even have one. So pretty much the last thing to do today is test fit our new radiator. I did get a new aluminium radiator online. I was tossing up between a plastic one and an aluminium one, but quite frankly, the aluminium aftermarket ones are so cheap these days that they're actually cheaper than a plastic one. Even the Chinese plastic radiators are dearer than the aluminium ones somehow. No idea, but we're going to try and test fit this radiator and see how well it fits, how well it doesn't fit, if there is actually major differences in the thickness of it as well. I know the core itself is thicker, but the tanks, I don't know if they're thicker or not, so we'll whack it in and have a squeeze.
Do you think that a robot would do the welding on these? Is that why it's so
these
cheap?
would be done by a person.
That's crazy.
I reckon that they're cheap because they're done by people, not by robots.
Oh, okay.
A robot would cost more than people in a third world country that's banging these radiators out. The radiator definitely sits a lot closer to the rad support, which is good. I'm not really too fussed about space, to be honest. I'm a lot less worried than I was before. I might go actually just grab some fans quickly and have a look, because we will need to make a custom shroud. If you spend more money, you can get the radiator with some fans.
Yep.
But the fans themselves are garbage.
Yep.
So for the cost of getting the fan and then still having to put better radiators in it, better fans in it, I figured it was worth just going with getting our own one made and then obviously having much better fans to start with. So I've got a 12 and an 8-inch fan, purely because that's what I have. I don't know if that's what's actually going to end up in here, but it'll at least give us an idea of clearance and whatnot. Actually, there's a bit of space there, like.
Oh, I don't know. That's really close.
Yeah, but it's really not going to move a lot.
The engine under acceleration?
It can't move front and back.
Oh, okay. It just...
It can't physically move forward, so.
Okay. Good to know.
Like, I mean, it is tight. And the thing is too, if we'd use smaller fans, slightly smaller fans, we can go with like packaging. The fans aren't going to be on here. That's worth mentioning as well.
Yeah, I noticed you were offsetting it when you were eyeballing.
I mean, it is definitely snug. It's not ideal.
Is that?
But see, we could potentially go a larger fan with a smaller motor.
Oh yeah, right.
Because this is an 8-inch one, so it's got the smaller motor, but you can get a larger fan, like a larger diameter fan with the same size motor, like a slimline still.
Can you swap that over, or is that just not worth?
I mean, you could, but I wouldn't want to go effectively ruining two fans.
Yeah, true.
But it's good that we at least know that it's an option. We could potentially even just go a bigger fan and just run a single. Okay. Apparently you can actually run on some JZ swaps you can use. I think it's a JZ80 fan and radiator shroud. There is a combo, but the thing is I don't know if the engine position is in the same spot as a JZ80. As a JZX81, because if it's further forward, which I think it is, because we end up moving it more forward to get ITB clearance, so it has crept forward, but as a result of moving it forward that 35mm, we've got much better shifter positioning, and it means we can use a stock MX83 tail shaft. So a little bit of give and take here is going to just make the project work, but then you get things like this where the radiator, the fans may be a little bit more challenging for packaging. But I feel like this is kind of small compromises to make the project work. I'd rather have a bit of a tight spot here than have to bash the firewall in 100mm, or actually have to physically cut and box the firewall to get the ITBs to clear, because that's just going to be way more work. So this is definitely going to work better. Well, another full day spent on the car, heaps of plumbing done today. We've also looked at the radiator. There are still a few little plumbing things we need to complete. We don't actually have a fuel regulator yet, bit of an oversight by me. So as a result, we can't do the return line. I also don't have a flex fuel sensor yet, so we've basically re-terminated the fuel line on the return side so we can screw the flex sensor directly into it. We've gone to a -6 fitting, which means we can do a slip-on style fitting to the flex fuel sensor, and we can just get all that nice and neatly sorted on the side of the chassis rail. So that'll tie in pretty well together. Next episode, or the next few episodes, we'll be doing wiring and all sorts of fun stuff. Dave will be down, and hopefully we can keep on progressing with the car. There's going to be a ton of electrical work to do, as well as obviously wiring the engine to the car. We've got to install a heap of things like the TCA 8 box, wideband, We've got a few more Haltech sensors. We've got fuel pressure and oil pressure sensors that we're going to mount on the rail externally with braided AN line going to those as well, because they don't like vibrations. So there is definitely a ton more to do, but I feel like we are definitely moving forward with the project, and I feel like it is currently on track. We are going to have to measure the car up soon for wheels, because the deadline for ordering the wheels is starting to creep up on us. Fortunately, I have actually sold the Viper, so that's freed up a little bit of funds to definitely be able to push forward on the project. So no handbrake up anymore, but pretty excited to continue along and finish this thing off. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
The car's on the hoist, by the way, not the track.